On the third year of being Ji Tingchen's kept woman, he crushed my hearing aid in front of his white moonlight. But I was only deaf, not blind. After I fled, I sent him a message. Ji Tingchen, I won't trouble you to take care of me for the rest of my life. What I didn't know was that during the days I couldn't hear, Ji Tingchen had whispered over and over by my ear, Shin Ranqing, will you stay with me forever? Yet on the third day after resigning from him, I ran into him again, at the worst possible time. I walked into VIP room 1 with 2 bottles of whiskey in hand. The moment I looked up, Ji Tingchen was swirling his glass, leaning down to murmur something to Lin Yuro, his white moonlight. Why is she here? Lin Yuro spotted me first. Ji Tingchen glanced up, and I, out of habit, removed my newly bought hearing aid. Back then, when I accompanied him to private meetings, I always did this. He once asked me, Shin Ranqing, do you know what I like most about you? I handed him my hearing aid, pointed to my ear, and said, because I can't hear. Then he'd wrap his arm around my waist, reckless, drowning with me in the night. But now, he had Lin Yuro by his side without hesitation. I finally realized, his most trusted person was no longer me. I should have left long ago. Lin Yuro, seeing Ji Tingchen silent, grabbed my wrist, forcing me still. Her fingers arrogantly traced the 3 glasses on the table, raising an eyebrow. I knew she wanted to humiliate me, but Ji Tingchen didn't react, just sipped his drink. I closed my eyes, clenching my fists. I couldn't lose this job. It was my only chance. So I feigned composure, lifting a glass to my lips. In an instant, Ji Tingchen's sharp gaze pinned me. His lips moved slightly. Then, Lin Yuro's lips curled into a smug smile. From his mouth shape, I could read it. She's not worthy. My heart sank. 3 years of companionship, only to be told I wasn't worthy. I lowered my head, apologized to everyone in the room, and fled. At the end of the hallway, my eyes reddened. Ji Tingchen didn't know. Being his canary had been my choice. 3 years ago, enemies hunted me. A brutal blow to the back of my head knocked me unconscious. As I fell, I saw a man, his nape tattooed, lean down to check my breath. Then Ji Tingchen arrived. He lifted me gently, ignoring the surrounding predators, and saved me effortlessly. Follow me, you'll be safe. With one sentence, he bought my 3 years. But now, a familiar figure blocked my path again. Ji Tingchen's Adam's apple rolled as he stepped in front of me. I allowed you to resign? My breath froze. President Ji, I need to deliver drinks to another room, because tonight, in VIP room 9, the man who likely caused my deafness might be sitting inside. Ji Tingchen suddenly leaned closer. I instinctively stepped back, until my back hit the wall. He raised a hand, pinching my chin tightly. I broke into a cold sweat, but he did nothing else. Instead, he reached into my right pocket, pulled out my hearing aid, and impatiently put it back on me. Shin Ranqing, you don't need to take it off anymore. I deliberately avoided his burning gaze, but he didn't look at me again, just turned and left. Only then did I exhale, pick up a fruit platter, and head to VIP room 9. My heart pounded. When I slowly pushed open the door, there he was, Lin Yanbai, the young master of the Lin family, lounging with 2 curvy women. Laughing, I stepped forward. President Lin, here are your fruits. Lin Yanbai's smile vanished. Who let you in? I lowered my head and repeated, President Lin, if there's nothing else, I'll leave. Just as I set the platter down, he grabbed my wrist. Who let you in? President Lin, maybe I delivered to the wrong room. But before I could break free, Lin Yanbai chuckled and pulled me into his arms. Sweetheart, didn't anyone teach you? This isn't the best way to get close to me. I froze. But Lin Yanbai wrapped an arm around my waist, leaning in. Still, I'm in a good mood tonight. I've seen too many bombshells. Your plain little face is refreshing. I relaxed slightly. He didn't know my real purpose. Then Lin Yuro burst in. Well, Shin Ranqing. No wonder you left Tingchen so obediently. You've set your sights on my brother. Lin Yanbai let go of my waist, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. Sweetheart, didn't expect you to play the field so well. When his fingers grazed my earlobe, I trembled uncontrollably. 3 years ago, the Lin family had caused my deafness, and now I saw it. Lin Yanbai's neck tattoo matched the man who'd checked my breath that night. But before I could process it, Ji Tingchen pushed open the door. Shin Ranqing, are your ears bad? Or are you blind too? He naturally pulled me to his side. I followed his lead. Sorry, President Ji. The lighting was dim. I took a wrong turn. Lin Yanbai stepped aside, smirking. So she really is President Ji's woman. President Ji, care for a drink? Ji Tingchen unusually tightened his grip on my shoulder and sat down. Lin Yanbai's eyes lit up. Just drinking's boring. How about a bet? Ji Tingchen's face remained cold, silent. Lin Yanbai glanced at me. If you lose tonight, the woman beside you comes with me. The moment he said it, Ji Tingchen's fingers dug harder into my shoulder, but he picked up a glass, indifferent. President Lin's taste is getting worse. My face stiffened. Lin Yuro sat beside me, yanking off my hearing aid. Brother, you're losing out. She's practically disabled. She smiled at Ji Tingchen. Suddenly, Ji Tingchen slammed his whiskey glass onto the table. I couldn't read what he said, but I closed my eyes, holding back tears. Even Ji Tingchen had never exposed my scars so cruelly before. But just as my tears threatened to fall, Ji Tingchen's warm hand covered mine. He snatched my hearing aid from Lin Yuro and gently put it back on me. Lin Yuro forced a laugh. Tingchen, it was just a joke. Ji Tingchen raised his glass again, voice icy. It wasn't funny. The club's music couldn't mask the silence in the room. No one dared speak. Then Ji Tingchen asked, if I win the bet, what's my prize? Lin Yanbai smiled. Then I'll give President Ji a grand gift. Ji Tingchen replied, I trust President Lin's gift won't disappoint. I didn't understand their hidden meaning, but Ji Tingchen had agreed to a bet with me as the stake. My heart ached. Shen Ranxing, don't be stupid. I'm just a 3-year stand-in for his white moonlight. When I first saw Lin Yuro's photo, I realized he'd saved me only because I looked 5% like her. But his fiancée was destined to be my enemy. Ji Tingchen and Lin Yanbai downed glass after glass. In the past, whenever Ji Tingchen drank too much, I'd stay up all night. I traced a circle on his palm, whispering, President Ji, drink less. But he gripped my hand, immobilizing me. Do you want to leave with Lin Yanbai that badly? I was speechless. After 6 straight shots, Lin Yanbai's companion took his glass. Ji Tingchen's cheeks flushed. I hurriedly said, President Lin, it's against the rules for someone else to drink for you. Lin Yanbai narrowed his eyes. Sweetheart, if you're willing, you can drink for me. Then I can take you home sooner. Furious, I tried to snatch Ji Tingchen's glass. Lin Yuro pressed my hand down. Shen Ranxing, Tingchen said you're not qualified to drink. Ji Tingchen lifted his eyes, just one look, and Lin Yuro lowered hers, silent. He leaned closer, his breath hot against my ear. Shen Ranxing, I won't lose. Lin Yanbai, provoked, dismissed the woman and kept drinking with Ji Tingchen. Until late at night, Lin Yanbai finally dropped his glass and left. But Ji Tingchen didn't stop. I snatched his glass. Ji Tingchen, do you want to die? He grabbed my wrists, pinning me to the sofa. His scent of alcohol enveloped me. President Ji, I'm not worth you drinking yourself to death. His eyes burned with lust. Shen Ranxing, I haven't agreed to your resignation. President Ji, you don't need me anymore. Haven't you always been using me? His gaze seared into me. I froze, he knew everything. The Lin family's involvement in the Shen family's bankruptcy, my parents' suicide, my deafness. At first, I stayed by his side for revenge. But after he shielded me again and again, I thought, maybe staying wasn't so bad. Yet when he crushed my hearing aid in front of Lin Yuro, I woke up. Ji Tingchen would never stand against the Lin family for me. I forced a bright smile. Since you've figured it out, President Ji, will you let me go? But his grip tightened. No. Then he picked me up, carried me out, and threw me into his car. Where are you taking me? He said nothing until we arrived at the Ji family mansion. Only then did I realize, tonight, I was doomed. Ji Tingchen threw me onto the bed we'd shared for 3 years. Still in his suit, he pinned me against the soft pillows. His lashes trembled, his deep pupils unreadable. Rage? Or endless sorrow? I only heard him say, you can only stay by my side. Ji Tingchen seemed to feel how rigid my body had gone. He gave a low grunt, stripped me bare, and tossed me into the bathroom. Wash away every place Lin Yanbai just touched. His possessiveness ran deeper than I'd ever imagined. Halfway through the shower, the door suddenly burst open. Ji Tingchen stepped in, wrapped his arms around me from behind, and before I could steady myself, the overhead spray drenched us, both in an instant. Ji Tingchen, you and Miss Lin are about to. I wanted to remind him. I'd overheard the news. He and Lin Yuro were getting engaged. But the moment the word engagement left my lips, he flared. Who gave you permission to eavesdrop? His face was ice. Without mercy, he yanked out my hearing aid and ground it underfoot, along with whatever scraps of dignity I still had. All I had done was bring him a lunchbox I'd cooked myself, the way I always did. The memory was cut short by the sudden heat of Ji Tingchen pressing against me again, drunk and murmuring, Shen Ranxing, I only want you. But tonight I was painfully sober. His protection had always been another kind of cage. The next morning he was gone. When I opened my phone, there was a single message. Business trip to City C 2 days. Sometime during the night, he had silently re-added the contact I'd deleted after I ran away. Typical Ji Tingchen. Never an explanation, never a goodbye. Before I could set the phone down, it rang. Shen Ranxing, if you want to know why your parents jumped, come to this address. Lin Yuro's voice was a blade, slicing open a wound that had never closed. Every quiet night for 3 years, the memory memories had ambushed me, but whenever the truth almost surfaced, an invisible hand had snuffed it out. I knew it was Ji Tingchen stopping me. What scared? Lin Yuro taunted. I steadied my breathing. Miss Lin, tired of pretending? She gave a light, contemptuous laugh. The Shun family? Hardly worth my effort. Still, you do have some talent. Tingchen's protected me for 3 whole years. This time I didn't obey him. I hailed a cab and went to the address she'd sent. It turned out to be a vast factory. Shinranxing, you certainly hurry when it concerns mommy and daddy. I thought you only threw yourself at Tingchen. I ignored her and followed her onto the production floor. Spread out before me were the blueprints for the new patent my parents had been about to file the year everything collapsed. Though I'd lived at Ji Tingchen's side long enough to glimpse the Lin family's theft, seeing the evidence laid bare made my hands shake. My parents' voices rang in my ears. Sweetheart, once the bid results are announced, our company can go public. Then we'll send you abroad to study, and when you come back you can take over. I had giggled, burrowing into my mother's arms. Does that mean I get to pick any guy in a city? But that night, while I set a celebratory table, they never came home. Lin Yuro shoved me. Don't you want to know how the Shin family's core technology ended up in Lin Group's hands? A terrible premonition crept over me. She pulled out her phone and dialed. Uncle Yi, come here. Yishao. When that familiar face appeared, I couldn't believe my eyes. He had been my father's closest friend, and the Shen family's lead engineer. A week before the patent filing, he had taken leave, then vanished. Ranxing. Yishao froze at the sight of me. Lin Yuro's smile widened. Don't misunderstand. The tech may sit in Lin Group now, but Uncle Ye's expertise wasn't given only to us. She drew a few sheets from her bag. Yi Zhao's employment contract, bearing the unmistakable signature of G Corporation. I felt myself plummet into an ice cellar. Lin Yuro's voice buzzed around me, but I heard nothing. So Ji Tingchen had kept me sequestered in the Ji mansion for a reason. I finally understood why every scrap of evidence I'd gathered about the Lin family's theft had been snuffed out by an unseen hand. Shen Ranxing, you don't need to get involved. I'll handle it. He had lied to me for 3 long years. My fingers stiff, I dialed Ji Tingchen's number, only to hear the same message again and again. The number you have dialed is currently on another call. Lin Yuro, why tell me only now? I demanded, tears blurring my vision. If I'd known sooner, I'd have left him faster. She stepped closer, snatching my phone. Don, do you think the timing makes the game more interesting? I used to think Tingchen felt nothing for you once I came back. You step aside like a good girl, but now I have to show you our president G's true colors. She was right. Ji Tingchen had always stood at the apex of the pyramid. Such a man could never give his heart to me. Every trace of gratitude I'd felt for his 3 years of care evaporated. Shinranxing, sometimes the truth comes at a price. Lin Yuro ripped away my hearing aid and slapped me hard. My temple struck the edge of a running machine. Warm blood streamed down. The world fell into a terrifying silence. Only a deafening roar inside my skull. Then, just like 3 years ago, I was swallowed by an endless darkness. When I woke up, I was in a pitch-black room, wrists and ankles bound. The door burst open, a blade of blinding sunlight cutting across the floor. Lin Yanbai stood in the doorway, Lin Yuro pointing at me from behind him. Their mouths moved, but I couldn't hear a word. Reading their lips, it looked like, "This woman is yours." I curled into the corner. Lin Yanbai came closer, step by deliberate step. At that moment, I would have preferred Ji Tingchen so I could ask him to his face why the G group had set its sights on the insignificant Shin family. Lin Yanbai crouched in front of me and spoke at length before realizing I couldn't hear. He reached back to Lin Yuro, snatched my hearing aid and jammed it in, none too gently. Shin Ranxing, you're interesting. Pity you're a woman Ji Tingchen's already used. A bit dirty. I bit down and shoved him with my shoulder. He didn't budge. Lin Yuro folded her arms. If my brother thinks she's dirty, why not leave her to me for a while? I'll return you an obedient Shin Ranxing. Lin Yanbai rose, satisfied. Don't be too rough. I can't bear it. Once he was gone, Lin Yuro's face twisted. She rolled up her sleeves, revealing layers of red welts and bruises. Shin Ranxing, it doesn't matter if you know. After all, you'll never leave the Lin estate. Do you know what Ji Tingchen has done to me these past months? Every time I so much as mention him, he threatens me. So I hurt myself, swearing there'd be no next time. But why? I was here first, grew up with him, childhood to adulthood. Remember the coming-of-age gala when we turned 18? I did remember. My parents and I had attended that Chamber of Commerce banquet. My first glimpse of Ji Tingchen, aloof as if the word businessman had nothing to do with him. I accidentally spilled wine on his white shirt. I'm sorry, I'll buy you a new one. He'd laughed at my panic. You couldn't afford it. Embarrassed, I dabbed at the stain with a napkin. He'd seized my wrist. Then pay with yourself. Lin Yuro's voice turned vicious. I dressed up that night, did everything to catch his eye. He never even looked at me, yet he couldn't forget a fool like you. I stared, incredulous. So the Lin family destroyed the Shuns for that? Your methods, so petty. No wonder Ji Tingchen never wanted you. She laughed as if I'd told a joke. Of course that wasn't. T-all. Before I went abroad, I left you one last gift. My breath froze. So it hadn't been my eagerness for the truth. Someone had set this trap years ago. But guess what? She went on. Even like this, dependent on a hearing aid, Ji Tingchen still wants you. Tears of mirth slipped down her cheeks. She dug her nails into my cheeks. It's fine. Yisn't here, doesn't he? He loved to hear you scream. Let us give him a concert. She dialed Ji Tingchen on my phone. He won't answer, I thought. Yet after 2 seconds a deep male voice came through. Shin Ranqing missing me? Lin Yuro's smile faltered, then curved again. Tingchen Ji, it's Yuro. A pause, then sharp. Lin Yuro, what have you done to Shin Ranqing? For the first time I heard panic in Ji Tingchen's voice, but I didn't want to listen. I could no longer tell what had been real these 3 years. Lin Yuro leaned to my ear. Changed my mind. Let's try something more fun, shall we? Into the phone she purred. It's my brother. He's always coveted Shin Ranqing. She pulled objects from a storage box. The dim light kept them vague until the whip snapped across my skin. I screamed. Shin Ranqing, talk to me. Ji Tingchen shouted. Again and again the lash fell, carving lines that matched her own. I shrank into the corner, tears blurring my eyes, but I made no further sound. Tell me where you are, he kept demanding. Lin Yuro laughed. Tingchen Ji, sounds like she's enjoying my brother's skills. Hang up now and I can't promise what happens next. Ji Tingchen's answer came instantly. What do you want to let her go? Lin Yuro lowered the whip. Marry me, Ji Tingchen. I want you to marry me. Silence. Though my body was numb, my heart lurched. Had their engagement been a lie she'd spun for my benefit? I remembered how he'd once flung my hearing aid to the floor. Had he tried to explain? Would I have believed him? Probably not. And he owed me no explanation. Just as he drew breath to answer, I summoned every scrap of strength and shouted into the phone. Ji Tingchen, the Shen house. Wait for me, he said, and the line went dead. Lin Yuro's face contorted, looking to die. Shin Ranqing? She seized my hair and slammed my head against the wall. He'll never find you. And if he does, do you think he'll still want what's left? Blood from my forehead smeared across the plaster. Darkness swallowed me. The last thing I heard was the door opening. Brother, she's all yours. I was carried to another room. When I woke, I lay on a bed, a single shaft of lonely sunlight cutting through the window. My clothes were intact, no new violation, but I was still bound, wounds still bleeding. Sorry, Mom and Dad. I'm useless. White sheets were stained with blood and tears. Ugly. I stared emptily at the light. Once, I'd carried my own light inside me. Now it was gone. Crash. The bedroom door exploded inward. Certain it was Lin Yanbai, I shrank away, tears falling uncontrollably. Don't touch me, please don't. But strong arms gathered me in. The scent of cedar, so familiar, couldn't mask the murderous chill around him. I looked up. His gaze was icy, yet when he met my eyes, the frost melted. Don't be afraid. It's me. Why the sight of Ji Tingchen should make me feel safe? I didn't know, but I couldn't. Forget the evidence Lin Yuro had shown me. He carried me out, facing the motionless woman in the doorway with lethal calm. Seems my warning meant nothing to you. Lin Yuro bit her lip, fists clenched in her white dress, unable to speak. I lay limp in Ji Tingchen's arms. At last I forced out a whisper. Ji Tingchen, why? Before I could finish, he rested his chin on my forehead. It's over. No one will hurt you again. I drew a shaking breath. 3 years ago, why did the Ji family take Yi Xiao from the Shuns? His breathing hitched. I'll explain later. Hospital first. When I said nothing, he sighed. Shin Ranqing, have I ever lied to you? Aside from that one matter, he had always kept his word. During the 3 years with him, I'd been safe. I stopped struggling. Perhaps I should never have asked. He must have sensed I'd uncovered the secret. At the hospital, I submitted numbly to every examination. He never left my side. We didn't speak. I sat on the bed for dripping, deliberately turning my face away. He watched me in silence until his phone rang. He glanced at me before answering. I reached to remove my hearing aid. He caught my hand, then stepped into the corridor. Since the day he'd thrown my aid to the floor, he'd treated it like forbidden ground. Whether out of guilt or care, I couldn't tell. Soon he returned with a lunchbox. I had Mrs. Wang make porridge. Eat. He lifted a spoon to my lips. I'm not hungry. He paused. I'd never refused him before. Setting the spoon down, he sighed. You want to know about Yi Xiao? Eat, and I'll tell you. To me, it felt like another bargain. A tear slipped free. Ji Tingchen, you've always treated me as a chip, before and now. Yi Xiao was cultivated by my father. Don't I have the right to know? He seized my wrist. Is that what you think of me? 3 years. I've asked myself every day if I ever let you suffer the slightest wrong. I laughed suddenly. So what are you hiding? You knew part of why I stayed was to learn the truth about my family. He cut me off. And the other part, Shenranqing. Did you ever love me? I couldn't speak. The night I'd been beaten unconscious, ears ringing, Ji Tingchen had arrived and draped his coat over my torn clothes, covering every bruise. In that instant he'd become my salvation. I'd grown used to leaning on him, yet I'd never forgotten the weight I carried. When that past collided with him, the 3 words stuck in my throat. He stood, cupped my face, and kissed me. But Shenranqing, I love you. Loving you is enough. I'd never heard the word love from Ji Tingchen's lips before. Even in the 3 years when we were at our closest, he had never once uttered the word. You are, I suppose, the variable fate hurled into my life, the overturned glass of wine, the white shirt blotched scarlet, and a stubborn little deaf girl who rebels from time to time. Before I could speak again, Ji Tingchen said, back then, the Lin Group coveted the new technology your family held. They bribed Yi Xiao to bring it to them. Lin Yanbai? I asked. Ji Tingchen shook his head. Lin Yuro. She isn't the Lin's real daughter. A jolt ran through me. Lin Yuro wasn't the true Lin heiress. She had lost both parents as a child. After they entrusted her to the Lin family, she hadn't had an easy life. From a young age I'd looked after her a little more than most. I couldn't help asking, how did you know Lin Yuro had bought Yi Xiao? Ji Tingchen lowered his gaze. She told me herself. If she delivered that technology to the Lin Group, they would push for a marriage alliance between her and the Ji family. Seeing my silence, he tightened his grip on my hand. By the time I found out, it was already too late. Then why did Yi Xiao later end up at Ji Group? His fingers pressed harder around mine. Have you ever heard the saying, man's heart is never satisfied, like a snake trying to swallow an elephant? Once the Lin Group obtained the core technology from Yi Xiao, they feared his existence would sully their reputation. After all, your parents had poured their entire lives into that research. In the end, they were driven to desperation and jumped. At the mention of my mother and father, my hands began to tremble. During the years Lin Yuro was studying abroad, she'd actually sent Yi Xiao overseas to expand the shady side of her business. Shady side. With my strength alone, I could never drag the Lin Group's past filth into the light. Now that underground industries were involved, everything had become far more complicated. Using Lin Yanbai's connections, I waited until Yi Xiao returned to China and threatened him with the same tactics, forcing him to work for Ji Group. Suddenly it all made sense. Why Lin Yanbai had spared me so many times when he could have struck. So Lin Yanbai wants to pull the Lin family back onto the right track. Ji Tingchen nodded. Shenranqing, do you see now? Unless it was absolutely necessary, I didn't want you to know. I turned my hand over and clasped his. I'm sorry, Ji Tingchen. I shouldn't have assumed the worst before hearing you out. He drew me into his arms, saying nothing for a long while. Then at last, so Shenranqing, can you love me now? A tear slid down his white shirt. Ji Tingchen, I've been keeping a secret I can't speak aloud. He held me without a word. The air slowly filled with something tender and nameless. Long ago, Shenranqing had already fallen in love with Ji Tingchen. You are the first to know. Without warning, he lowered his head and kissed me, roaming my lips and teeth at will. A soft laugh escaped him. I'll keep the secret. Then gentler kisses claimed every inch of me, leaving no corner untouched. Ji Tingchen moved quickly. While I was still recovering, he had already plotted his next move. A rumor flew through City A. The Ji Group and the Lin Group were about to be joined by marriage. I knew. Ji Tingchen was ready to strike. Wait for me, he said, then left. Not long after he was gone, a familiar figure appeared. Little darling, don't you want to watch the show? Lin Yanbai strolled in, lazy and elegant. Young Master Lin's double game is quite masterful, I said. He shot me a sideways smile. The Lin family can't be ruined by an outsider. There are things I can't personally involve myself in. If Ji Tingchen hadn't set his sights on you long ago, I might actually have been reluctant. Compared with Ji Tingchen, I'm still far too simple. So, at Lin Yanbai's invitation, I attended the engagement ceremony between Ji Tingchen and Lin Yuro as his companion. Under countless spotlights, Lin Yuro looked radiant. She threaded her arm through Ji Tingchen's and walked toward me. Shenranqing, you've really latched onto my brother, haven't you? I raised my voice unafraid. Your brother? You're shouting without proof. Lin Yuro's face darkened. She glanced around in embarrassment, then lifted her chin. Tingchen Ji said he was only angry at me for a moment. See, he's still marrying me, right? Tingchen Ji? Ji Tingchen looked at her without expression. When his gaze met mine, a faint smile tugged at his lips. Amen. I will marry you. Under the gaze of business elites and the media, Ji Tingchen and Lin Yuro stepped onto the stage to exchange rings. Lin Yuro beamed shyly at him, while Ji Tingchen's face remained cold. Then slowly he spoke. Before the ceremony, I'd like to invite everyone to watch a short video. The crowd murmured. Who knew the usually icy President Ji could be so romantic? Miss Lin is so lucky. Lin Yanbai and I exchanged glances. His eyes held a flicker of unreadable emotion. The screen lit up. Surveillance footage. Yi Xiao, I'm personally giving you 5 million. Work for the Lin Group. Miss Lin, I can't betray the Shen family. If I'm not mistaken, you owe the Lin family several million in gambling debts, don't you? What gambling? Stop pretending. Take the 5 million and do as I say, or I don't mind making an example of you. The guests gasped. That's Yi Xiao, the one who supplied the Lin Group with cutting-edge technology. I heard the Shen family went bankrupt because of this. Such huge debts. No wonder Mr. and Mrs. Shen couldn't bear it. What debts? I wondered. Lin Yanbai leaned close. President Ji has done far more for you than you know. I stood frozen. So the collapse had not been a simple failed IPO. My parents had been crushed by the Lin family. On stage, Lin Yuro was stunned. Tingchen Ji, what is this? Who's behind this dirty trick? Just as she lunged to stop it, Ji Tingchen seized her wrist. His men let the video roll. The angle narrowed, hiding her face, yet the voice was unmistakable. Yi Xiao, where's the cargo I asked you to move? Miss Lin, everything's here as you requested. A hidden door slid open, revealing crate after crate of contraband. When I return from abroad, if the Lin family still doesn't take me seriously, I'll drag the entire Lin group down with me. Miss Lin, by then your overseas operations will be fully set up. The profits will be staggering. Once you marry President Ji, even the Ji group will be yours. The audience sucked in a collective breath. Lin Yuro had been trafficking illegal goods. Lin Yuro shrieked. These are all fabrications. Do you have any proof? I'm the proof. From the doorway walked Yi Xiao, traitor to the Shen family, now the decisive witness against her. Lin Yuro whirled on me. Shen Ranqing, you want me dead? Well, you won't leave this hall alive. Before she could reach me, Ji Tingchen pulled me behind him and struck. A crisp slap rang through the hall. Lin Yuro crumpled to the floor, clutching her cheek. Tingchen Ji, you hit me for her. You used to protect me when we were children. Ji Tingchen looked down at her, voice flat. I never raise a hand to women. Lin Yuro, you've disappointed me too much. Lin Yanbai stepped forward, hauling her upright and onto the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to clarify on behalf of the Lin family. Lin Yuro is merely an adopted daughter. Every action she took has nothing to do with the Lin group. The hall erupted. Reporters lifted cameras in a frenzy. Police sirens wailed outside, cutting through the uproar. Miss Lin Yuro, please come with us. I've done nothing wrong. You can't arrest me. But the officers held up a small bag of prohibited substances, evidence in hand. Sorry, Miss Lin. She collapsed sobbing. Ji Tingchen, you're the most terrifying man alive. Ji Tingchen's last words to her were, I gave you a chance. You were unworthy. As Lin Yuro and Yi Xiao were led away, I felt no triumph, only emptiness. Everything had begun with petty childhood jealousies, small cuts left untended until they festered into a poisonous storm. Ji Tingchen noticed my silence and bent to my ear. It's over. I'll always be with you. I don't remember how I returned home. My mind replayed the scenes and the memories of my parents. Ji Tingchen laid me gently on the bed, stroking my hair. Let the past stay in the past. Your mom and dad would want you to live well, wouldn't they? I had never seen him so soft. At last I broke, sobbing against his chest. The first time in 3 years I'd let myself cry. He held me, letting my tears soak his shirt. When the storm had passed, he brought out something from behind his back. Shen Ranqing, let's get married. A diamond ring glittered between us. I stared. Wasn't this supposed to be for your engagement? He tapped my forehead. I've had this ring for 3 years. I looked into the depths of his eyes. Ji Tingchen, are you proposing? I have another secret. This isn't my first proposal. A memory flashed. I instinctively touched my hearing aid. When you couldn't hear, I already asked. I pretended ignorance. When I ran away, didn't you say I'd never need to take it off again? Silly. I meant, if you ever truly wanted to leave me, at least remember to protect yourself. I looped my arms around his neck. Then what did you say when I couldn't hear? Shen Ranqing, stay with me forever, all right? I kissed him first. Yes.